Hello, everybody. I'm Francesco Ferla, the head of design of Project A. It's my first time at the Portfolio Day, so I'm really excited to be here. Today, I will talk about brand life cycle, so the triggers of a branding projects in companies, so why companies start to create a new brand, renovate, or redesign a brand from scratch. I will talk about consistency, why a consistent brand helps increasing the overall value of a company by reinforcing your position in the marketplace. I will talk about change. We work in an industry that is constantly changing, growing, being disrupted. It is increasingly important in this industry to keep up with changes in market, technology, and consumers' behaviors. I will talk about dynamic branding. I will show you how we embraced the paradox of brand consistency in a changing world. So how can you keep a brand consistent while changing it all the time? So as I mentioned, it's my first time at the Portfolio Day. So a short introduction. So head of design at Project A. I joined this company 2 years ago. And before joining the company, I worked for more than 10 years in user experience, branding, art direction projects for some of these brands. This is my team, Christian and Egle, sitting here somewhere. These are Tamer and Christian from product and front-end development. These are the guys I work most closely with. And of course, the team I work with, an amazing team of 100 hands-on experts. What do we do? Design, user experience. We live at the intersection of business, technology, communication, marketing. As you can see, we care a lot about a lot of different things like branding, consistency, performance, together with front-end team, simplicity, usability, interaction design. So really, really exciting to work in this team. In the last years, we supported a lot of ventures. So Day, One in Black, Spriker, Horizon, Kuno Medical, Mr. B&B, Liquid, Carsetile, Clara. So we supported or are currently supporting these ventures. And we really love working with you, ventures. So this is why one of our core values is venture success first. So we put ourselves in the entrepreneur's shoes and try to find what brings them forward. However, sometimes we find time for ourselves. And so earlier this year, we went from this to this. I will show you a bit more of the new brand identity later because first I'd like to talk about the motivation, so why companies rebrand. When an organization needs to develop its brand or create a new one, it launches a brand project. And this presentation describes the brand life cycle and the 3 triggers of a branding project. So 3 factors that triggers a brand project. The first trigger is the startup stage. At this stage, everything is new product, new venture. There is not a lot of time, not a lot of money. You need to launch, you need to go live quickly. It's all about creation. So you create something from scratch, and you create it fast and quickly. The second stage is when life is good. There is good growth, good profit, new ambitions. The culture of the company evolves. product evolves, technology evolves. The company wants to do more. So in the first stage startup, there were a lot of limitations. Now you can, everybody is asking, could we do more? And so the project is about renovation and so renewing the brand. The third stage is the crisis stage. Changes in the market, deregulation, new competitors. You have to rebuild the commitment of your staff and your employees. There are new ambitions. There is a crisis in the market or new acquisitions. There is no growth. There is bad performance internally, and you have to rethink your brand. So this is an overview of these three triggers. You have the startup phase, life is good, and crisis. In the first stage, you have to gain people commitment. The second stage, you have to keep commitment of your staff, of your customers. And in the third stage, crisis, you have to rebuild the people commitment. So in the first stage, you are creating a new brand. This brand is a new purpose in the world. In the second phase, it means a new proposition and role in people's lives. Crisis, you have to rethink, so to create a new personality or a customer experience from scratch. We are in this second phase, so this is life is good at Project A, so this is why we decided to do this rebranding project. Why we decided to do this rebranding? Again, 5 years, so Project A was founded 5 years ago. A lot has happened in the ecosystem, so the VC system, startup ecosystem has grown more mature. It's time for us to adapt. So we felt the need to adapt our brand to account for the more contour company image which emerged since then, since 5 years. We want to define a brand identity. We wanted to define a brand identity that fits better in the company culture. As I mentioned, in the life is good stage, the company culture evolves. So you need to redesign and fine-tune it. We want to excite people. So we want to keep people commitment. As I mentioned, we have a team of 100 hands-on talents, and we want to attract more of them and retain them. We want to differentiate from the competition, the most obvious reason for our rebranding. And we want to reflect our vision and mission and values better. So I will briefly go through our vision because the way we redesign our brand, it's around our core values, vision, mission, and values. Is the essence of our brand. So Project A empowers the leading digital companies of tomorrow, is our vision. Our mission, we invest in excellent teams and foster expertise by providing operational support and creating an environment of success. I will go through our values. I mentioned this earlier, but venture success first. Knowledge sharing, we want to share, we want to make our knowledge accessible within Project A, our ventures, and we share it actively. We use data and think one step ahead, so we use data to inform our decisions. We are a data-driven company. Obligation to this end, we welcome every idea. No assholes allowed. We respect our environment and we show appreciation and a positive mindset. We are reliable partners, so ventures, investors, and colleagues can rely on us. We have an hands-on working style, 100 hands-on experts. We are informal and pragmatic. We act fast. We are accessible and open across teams. Fix now, don't complain later. Change is good. We are open and try new ways. So, change, let's talk about change. This Heraclitus of Ephesus, philosopher, once said that the only thing that is constant is change. And keep this in mind for later. Now I would like to talk about what is a brand, the meaning of a brand. There are several definitions. This is the definition from the American Marketing Association. This is what Jeff Bezos thinks about a brand, is what people say about you when you are not in the room. Your brand is what people say about you when you are not in the room. This is my favorite definition from Robert Jones, the head of New Thinking at Wolf Hollins, very fancy job position, head of New Thinking. A brand is a set of ideas a company or product stands for in people's minds. So very close to Jeff Bezos' definition. So it's what people, is the idea the people have about your company. I would add to this definition that these ideas should be consistent. So to create awareness, people should have consistent ideas about your brand. A brand is actions. So these ideas are shaped by the company or its product's actions. I would add also here consistent actions. So these to be recognizable, to stick in people's mind, your actions should be consistent. A brand is style. So these actions and ideas are recognized through a visual, verbal, sensorial, and interactive style. It's the way you use your visual style, your tone of voice style consistently that makes these actions recognizable and create this idea. If you use style and action in a consistent way, your brand will become much more than a logo. A brand is not a logo. If we see this campaign on the right, you can immediately recognize the brand, even if we remove the logo. So a brand is not a logo. If you use a consistent language, people will recognize you immediately. So what is a brand? We could say that brand is consistency. And if brand is consistency, why consistency is so important for your brand? Because it increases the value of your company. It helps you to attract better customers with higher retention rates. It creates loyalty. It raises the perceived value of your products or service. If you have what is the difference between a professional brand and an amateur brand? That visual language is used consistently, and people perceive quality. It makes marketing and sales effort more effective, so more value for money. So as you can see, consistency is it's really a competitive advantage for your company. It also, when you use consistency, when you have to make a new decision, when you have to take a decision, you can tie every new brand action to business goals and values. So it will be much easier to change direction and to take new actions for your brand. It helps people understand how they fit within your organization. So the moment, it makes it easier to deal with change or take advantage of new opportunities. It's easier to deal with change. And your customers will perceive every action that you perform. So you release a new campaign, a new product. It will be just it will be considered a part of your company journey. So it's all about consistency. And as you can see, consistency gives your company flexibility to grow. So a lot of there is so much value in consistency. It's really a good thing to keep an eye on the consistency of your brand. So how do I build brand consistency? You need to keep an eye on the elements of brand consistency. So messaging, tone, imagery, and delivery. These are the building blocks of your brand. Message. A consistent message should clearly define your positioning and align with your core behaviors. The tone of voice, is an element that companies tend to forget as they develop their brand, but this really defines the personality of your brand. If you don't have a tone of voice, you don't have personality. So people just don't understand and get confused. They don't know who you are. And conflicting tones lead to mixed messages, so people will be really confused. Design, the most obvious and important element in your brand consistency toolkit. It makes your brand recognizable. It's your style. It helps build visibility, increases customer recognition and association. But beyond these fundamental elements, the delivery of your brand is what defines rhythm, expectation, and the quality of the experience. The delivery of your brand through timing and across channels significantly contributes to the consistency of the experience. If you don't deliver consistently, the experience will be broken. So these are brand touch points. Touch points are all the interactions that customer have with a brand. The customer perceptions are created by a series of touch points. This is what an old corporate identity looks like. As you can see, the usual things: typography, photography, tone of voice, color, unique language, naming architecture, colors, logos. The world has evolved, and now we have this. So these are the touch points of modern brands, especially modern digital brands. This is, as the world has developed, more opportunities have emerged for brands to express themselves. So sophisticated modern brands are built. They are called 360 identities. And as you can see, it's much more complex. There's much more to do. There are sonic assets, light, photography, naming architecture, tone of voice are still there. But there is so much more: motion, behavioral icons. And this is just the most common. These are the most common assets of today's modern brands. However, when a company starts, when a company is in its early stage, so a startup, you start to build an understanding of your company and your values and your little by little over time. So you add touch point to this palette as you grow. So you don't have to start. You have to start small and then build in different phases. And this is particularly true with digital brands, like your brands, who may begin by just using one or two key assets to tell their story, and then you can communicate your purpose to the world little by little. So you don't have to start with this. This is something that you can't do in a 6 months project. It's something that requires a long time to build. Yeah, phase X. So it's it's a never-ending process. So these are the 360 degrees identity. 360 degrees identity is a term created by Wolf Hollins, a big branding firm. So we talked about brand life cycle. We talked about rebranding triggers, so startup, life is good, the crisis. We talked about consistency. It's a competitive advantage, so the value of consistency, it gives you the flexibility to grow. We talk about our values and how we perceive change in our company. So now the question is, how can you keep a brand consistent while constantly changing it? Socrates asked this question all his life. As you might have noticed, in the past months, we changed our logo often. So our logo changed often. A lot of variations. At first, people got a bit confused. It was released. But then they started to notice the consistency of style and actions. We created variations, more variations, more variations, even more variations. Yeah, I didn't answer your question, these philosophers. So how do we keep consistency in a changing world? We decided to create a design system, flexible, and we decided to use this dynamic branding approach. What is dynamic branding? Dynamic branding is an identity that can be changed. It's a brand identity that can be changed. It has a consistent basic element. It can be the logo, watermark, colors, or shape. The brand is still recognizable, no matter if you change it. I will show you some examples. There is this Irene van Ness, designer from the Netherlands, and she studied and she defined some models for these dynamic systems. I will show you some of them. This is it's one of these models. It's called the container. This is the rebranding of the city of Melbourne. Here, the studio, Landor Associate, defined a container, basically a shape, the M, inside a grid. And inside this grid, they play with different colors and shapes. You can basically, you can create infinite variations of the logo. This is another example. It's called the wallpaper model from Wolf Hollins. You have the watermark in the foreground. Always, it's the fixed element, and then in the background you can experiment with pictures, with illustrations. There are no rules. No rules. This is another example of wallpaper model from the Sagmeister and Walsh studio. It's EDP, an electric company from Portugal. Similar approach. You see the fixed element in the foreground, and then in the background, the logo always changes with different shapes. Same color, but different shapes. This is another dynamic branding model. It's called the DNA. Here, the branding, it's from Wolf Hollins as well. So I'm a big fan of this studio, if you didn't realize. And here the designer created a toolbox with several ingredients. So it's a recipe. There is the background, it changes all the time. Even the main element, you can still recognize the brand, but you can create distinctive results every time. This is from the OCAD University. It's called the customized model. Here, the company created a fixed element and then invited employees, students to create their own interpretation of the brand. So you can draw doodle. You can doodle on the logo. You can add pictures. It's very interactive. I mean, there are many brand identities. It's not something new. It's something that has been around for 10 years. So there are many identities designed in the last year that follow these models. I invite you to browse, and if you search on Google dynamic brand identities, you will find a lot of them and a lot of examples. So now I would like to show you our dynamic design system. So as you can see, we have this frame everywhere. This is our fixed element. I will explain you later the meaning about all these components. We can change the background. We have infinite variations, as I show you, so we can change the background, change it. So the background can be this colorful shape. We can also scale it, and we can create background that are croppings of this logo. We can add patterns, so the patterns that you saw in these portfolio day events. One pattern, another pattern. So the background is not only that shape. We can use, we can play a lot with our color, with the components, even of this frame. As you can see, these are pieces of this frame. We can add illustrations. So we design illustration based on our color palette and this shape. So basically, in these heads, you can see part of the logo. So this dynamic component is everywhere. This frame represents a window in the startup and VC ecosystem. What is happening? And so we use it together with our communication department. We use it everywhere. So you will see, I'm sure you notice it. If not, you will notice it now. So we use this frame everywhere. It's part of it's a component of our visual style. We use it also as a metaphor of building startups or growing startup. Here you can see the ends built. It's a company. This was an HR campaign. We use it, as you can see, we use it everywhere. This is an overview just to give you an idea. So this frame is everywhere. It's even on our website. On the right, you can see the website we designed for the portfolio, these events. This is another important aspect. So I mentioned we are venture first is one of our core values. And here you can see that whenever we mention or talk about our ventures, we change the color of our frame with ventures brand color. So we put, it's venture first. We are made of ventures, so it's your color first. And also on the website, you can see that we change when you can explore the portfolio section, and you will see that the frame of the website itself will change. So let's get a bit more into details. So this is the dynamic logo, as mentioned. It allows us to make infinite variation, to create and design. It gives us, especially for designer, it's fresh air because we can experiment a lot. So we have consistency at the same time. We can be creative, and this is the variation. So we use it also just the A. And this is the meaning of these two components. So as I mentioned, we wanted to really build this brand around our core values, you know? And as you can see, the primary logo frame stands for vision, solidity, reliability, trust, process, environment, respect, data, environment of success. This is why every time we mention ventures, also in our iconography, the frame is, it represents the ventures, the environment of success that we want to create. The dynamic background, it stands for future, change, sharing, creativity, dissent, fun, openness, diversity, hands-on style, flexibility. So as you can see, we have two elements. One is the solidity, consistency, and the other one is the change. How did we get to this idea? So we wanted to capture the essence of the company, of our company, an ever-changing company in constant evolution, ready for the changes of tomorrow. So we started to ask ourselves, what is Project A made of? It's made of portfolio ventures, teams, expertise, skills, technologies. What are these teams doing? They're growing, evolving in expected and unexpected ways because there are changes in market, changes in technology. So everything is flowing and changing. We share resources and knowledge. So we work across departments. We work together with you. We share offices. We share everything. And so these colors, these components blends together, no? To create these gradients. And we are sharing this. We are growing together in this environment of success. This is, you may think, okay, yeah, but how do you design this background? It's a crazy things. You hire an artist, a painter, and it's painted every time in a different way. No, we defined a set of rules. We defined a system, as I mentioned. It's a flexible system. So we designed a grid. In this grid, we can draw 3 random shapes, always 3. We can apply color from our color palette. We can we round the corners of this shape, we blend the colors, and we apply the frame on top. I will, so grid, we draw the shape, 3 shapes, we apply the color, we round the corners, we blend the colors, and we add the frame. So this is the recipe. We can replicate this, and we can create, this is the sequence. We can create other 3 shapes. We add our colors. And we can create infinite variations. So this is a flexible system. This is an extract from our brand book. We have our set of color, our gradients. We specified the color transition sequence, so it's not random. I can't mix this color with this color. Orange can only be mixed with red, red with blue. So these are the transition sequences. So everything is defined with a set of rules. This is what I showed you earlier. So we can create background. So we create the logos. Then we create the background. So everything is flexible and consistent at the same time. This is some of the business cards that we produced this year. So for all our employees have a personalized business card. So they are different. There is no business card that is with the exact same background and logo. So this also, but it's consistent, as you can see. It's the same company. It's a different logo, but it's the same company. We designed an atomic component system. So we have components that we can reuse for websites, publications, campaign. This is a living style guide, so it's growing, it's changing. So we are creating interaction patterns, motion. So these are all assets that I show you, part of our brand 360 brand identity. So we have a specific way in which things move and behave on screen. And we prototype everything, we test everything. These are the usual gadget, company, employer branding, T-shirts, hoodies. Bags. Social media pages. We change our cover and logos often. So we have still a lot of work to do. So we are, I don't know if it's phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase X, but it's a project that will never end. So we are building, defining our tone of voice, our photography style, motion and animation, icons. It's a tough job, but we need to do it because the only thing that is constant is change. And I would like to show you a video. I don't know if you watch it already today, but it's a video about change called Project A Story. So Daniel and his communication team put this together, and you can see our new brand in action and how the company changed. Daniel, there? Yeah.
Blow your mind one more time. The
That was it.